Okay, we're going to look at writing the equation of g of x graph from f of x. So f of x is our original graph. First, I'm going to look at reflections. If I take a look and compare the reflections, so I like to look at this sort of larger side maybe of the f of x graph, and I see that it was pointing down at the bottom. Now it's pointing up. So it has reflected above the x, or over the x-axis. So reflects x-axis. We can see that. Now I'm going to compare to the y-axis. So again, comparing this sort of larger side right here. It's sort of on the left-hand side of my shape. Now if you take a look, it's on the right-hand side. So this smaller part is flipped over and is over here. So it reflects the y-axis as well. So I just have to just sort of visualize those reflections on the shape. So that means I'm going to have a negative x-coordinate and a negative y-coordinate. Next, I'm going to compare the domain. The domain is going to help me with any horizontal stretches. So the domain was a distance of -4 to 8. So I'm just going to talk about the units. So 12, and here it's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. So 12 times what gives me 6? That would be 1/2. So remember, the horizontal stretch is linked to the b value. That would give me a b value of 2, because with the b value, it's always the reciprocal. Range. Range is linked to the vertical stretch. So if I take a look at the range, originally here, so we have from 4 to -6, we have 10 units. And then after we have, if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so this would be times 1/2. So that's linked to the a value directly, so a is 1/2. Now I need to apply my stretches and reflections. Okay, so we will be looking at f of x, and we're going to change a point with the mapping notation. So including our reflections, we've got to have a -1/2 times the xi, because we multiplied x coordinates by 1/2 to change that. Our y values is also negative with the reflection, and it is also 1/2. So that's the stretches and reflections we're going to apply. So now I need to pick a point. When I'm choosing a point, I often just try and find an image point that's easy. So if I pick like an end point, okay, I can tell that's the end of that longer side of this V. So I'm going to compare these 2 points. Those are image points. So I'm going to choose the point -4 and 2 and apply the stretches. So -1/2 times -4 is going to give me 2. -1/2 times 2 is going to give me -1. So I'm going to locate this point now on my grid paper. So I go to 2 and -1. And what I want to do now is figure out where that goes to the image point. So so we started with this point, we applied the stretches and reflections, which means this point now has moved here. I want to count to see how it gets to here. So I'm going to count up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going 7 up, 4 left. Okay? Therefore, when I'm writing my equation, so y equals -1/2 f of, I need to put in my b value of -2. Okay? So x plus 4, and then I have my plus 7 for my up.